the FIFA rankings, they were able to get straight into the quarterfinal system, as was Senegal, as was Zambia, as was Mozambique, etc., etc. But Botswana were drawn in Group A. They were the winners of Group A, were Botswana, and they had a good tournament as well in the group stage. Botswana beaten the Seychelles by a goal to nil. They beat the Comores by the same scoreline, and then Angola also by a goal to nil to top the table. And then in the quarterfinals, as we say, Botswana losing out to Zambia on penalties. Good venture forward here early on from the Zebras with Tlabelo Kolagano on the left-hand side. Hasn't played in the tournament in the starting lineup. The 20-year-old from Orapa. South Africa coming straight into the quarterfinal stage, along with Madagascar, Namibia, Mozambique, Zambia, and Senegal. Eswatini were the top of Group B. Eswatini lost against Botswana by 2-0 on Friday, with Morwalela and Tatanyani scoring goals. Morwalela in the starting lineup on Friday. Tatanyani coming off the bench, both to score goals. South Africa beating Madagascar by 2-1 with Sifama and Butsaka scoring goals. Sifama on the bench today for Bafana. Butsaka not in the matchday squad, but he is in the stadium. And Helman Mklele making 8 changes from the side that beat Madagascar. We're very lively, I might say, particularly in the second half on Friday. But South Africa going through then, and having won this title in the 2017, 18 and 19, they'll be hoping to make it 4 victories in the plate competition. William Shongwe alongside of me, you've barely said a word.
I'm watching, trying to put up the structure of what this Bafana is going to look like. But now I can tell you, they're playing with 3 at the back today. And Tele and Shezi will be more like the wing backs. But when they defend, when they don't have the ball, you'll be amazed. 5 defending players, because those wing backs will immediately turn into defensive players.
A little burst through the middle here by Danon Ndlovu, the Baroka 20-year-old. Played 15 times for the side that was relegated to the first division from the Premier League at the end of last season in the South African Premier Football League. Other Baroka player in the starting lineup is the holding midfielder Sydney Maliva. Early free kick here for South Africa. South Africa playing in the green and gold. They defend the goal to the left-hand side of your screen. Botswana in the black and white today with the blue stockings, defending the southern end of the impressive Sugar Kuru Stadium in Clermont. First free kick of the day then. One of the men on the ball is Sydney Maliva himself. The ball doesn't get past the wall. First up, Alfred Velapi with the clearance.
Yes, winning is a prerequisite for any game, for any team that has been put out there to play. But, you know, at this level, I'm afraid to say maybe Mkelele has a little bit of another agenda up his sleeve that is giving some game time to some of the players that hasn't featured that prominently. Also, just to know that what do they have up their sleeves as a potential to eventually feature in the big stage.
Well, I think the danger for me, having had a look at the many changes that were made by Helman Mkelele coming into this encounter, was that the South African side, Bafana, would play almost like they played on Wednesday against Mozambique, where they looked very disjointed. And one hopes it's not the case today, because we saw a pretty good performance against Madagascar on Friday from South Africa, and Botswana just as impressive against Eswatini. I know you don't like me saying that.
It's football. It's allowed. Not that that it's allowed, but it's a game of football. There's got to be a winner and a loser. And sometimes if you get a draw from some games, you take them and run. Yes, Botswana have been excellent. It's a semi-professional league. About 4 teams, maybe a fully fledged professional outfits.
Keeper Orwetu Mzimela is a 21-year-old from AmaZulu. Didn't get much game time, or didn't get any game time at all, as far as the DSTV Premiership or the Nedbank Cup is concerned, Cup and League for Orwetu Mzimela. But when you've got a national team goalkeeper in Veli Motwa in the ranks, then I suppose those sort of things are going to happen. I'm quite a fan. I know some people don't believe in a squad system. I'm quite a fan of the squad system, Because in a squad system, even if you're not going to be a regular in the starting lineup, you are getting the benefit of the coaching. You are getting the benefit of playing with the first team players in a squad system. And that is why I believe in it.
And you mentioned Modra. There's also Boshoff, who's the number 2. So
he signed just for Richards Bay, in fact.
Wow.
Richards Bay FC were the winners of the first division in South Africa last season. They qualified then for the Premier League this coming season. It'll start on the 6th of August. And Richards Bay FC from that town up on the northeast coast have just announced that they've signed, along with, I think there's a goalkeeper from the Congo or somewhere else, but they've signed a foreign goalkeeper, and they've signed Boshoff from Amazulu.
It was an injustice to have Boshoff sitting on the bench for that long, because Motra, but you can't blame the system, because Motra has been excellent in goal. And so I think it's a good idea to have released Boshoff because he's a quality goalkeeper. I've liked what I've seen in the past when he's in goals.
Well, maybe that, plus the opening that Coach Herman Mlele has given to Alberto Mzimela, that maybe we do see Mzimela. It won't be the first time Mzimela to play in goal for Amazulu, will he?
Indeed, Mbongeni, the former, would have featured very prominently in the past, but also he didn't only end up with Amazulu, he also had a stint at Chippa United, Platinum Stars. This is just some of the teams that he will have played for. And a great goalkeeper all this time, but no relationship. No relationship to Mbongeni is what we see the young Mzimela in goals for Bafana Bafana at the moment.
This man in your picture, the blonde number 18, Lebogang Ditsele, has had a good tournament. And it's quite interesting, when you're talking to the coaching staff of the Zebras, and just how they explain the combination between Lebogang Ditsele and Motusi Cooper, who was with Maludia, by the way. And if you're looking for a box-to-box player, anyway, in South Africa, Motusi Cooper is a 24-year-old. He played for the Moroccan side, Maludia, but he's out of contract there from the end of last month. And he's a free agent. So if you're looking to pick up a box-to-box player and a very good midfielder, then have a look at Motusi Cooper. He's playing in his 6th match for the Zebras. There's a couple of players that are playing in this 6th match of the tournament. The goalkeeper Poco is playing in there. Mzimela comes under a bit of pressure. The captain Kapumi is playing in his 5th. Itsele is playing in his 5th, and so is Motusi Cooper. Just shows the value that Motusi Cooper is seen with in the Botswana camp. For Bafana Bafana, there's only 3 players that are playing in their 2nd encounter. They have played both encounters so far, playing in their 3rd encounter of the season. I think Kosi Mngaba, the very impressive Stellenbosch teenager at centre-back alongside of Keegan Johannes himself, and then Rowan Human from Maritzburg United in the attacking midfield, who's also played every match in the starting lineup for Bafana Bafana. First corner kick of the game then goes the way of the hosts of this tournament. COSAFA 2022 brought to you by Hollywood Bets. Shot from Rowan Human, who we were just talking about, takes a deflection. Consecutive corners for Bafana Bafana. Good pressure.
Wanele Kopa on the bench for Bafana Bafana, who's the assistant to Helman Kalele, a well-versed coach in South African football.
Variation to the theme across the penalty area. Kopelang with a clearance, and William, we spoke about Ditsele a little bit earlier on, but I'll tell you what, Tebogo Kopelang, he's got the number 20 jersey on his back. He's 20 years old, plays for Security Systems in Botswana, and for me, he's been just as impressive as Ditsele has in this tournament.
A gem in the making, I can promise you that. At 20 and having played with fluidity throughout the tournament, except for maybe the own goal that he conceded in the quarterfinal stage. Otherwise, he hasn't put a foot wrong. And he's definitely a good find, and we do hope that he's going to grow even better into a very better defender going forward. I mean, if you have this international experience at this age, I can imagine going forward there.
10 minutes played in the plate final. Don't forget, later on today, this afternoon at 1500 Central African time, we'll have the 3rd and 4th place playoff, the losers final. And then at 7 o'clock, 1900 Central African time, we'll have the grand finale of this tournament, Zambia against Namibia at Moses Babida Stadium. Grant Bissett and Brian Mate will take you through those two encounters. And it's a short day at the office for us, William.
We've been having long days, so I think we deserve.
Rowan Human across the goal, and a little touch in there from Antonio van Beek. One of the 8 changes made by Helman Mkelele, who earns his first cap of the tournament. He's 20 years old, one of the 2 Stellenbosch players in the starting lineup today, and just got his foot on the ball rather nicely to the dreadlock number 7.
And what you like about what he did very well, he plays on the wide left-hand side of the channel, but he saw the opportunity and started narrowing his run towards goal. And what he didn't do well was turn his side foot a little bit wider, and that's why he couldn't find the target. That's all he needed.
This is Matusi Cooper. Kolofano for the second time in the opening 11 minutes finds himself offside, and I do get that he's playing in a right back position, a left back position. I do understand that he's got the flair to push forward like that sort of thing, but twice in the space of a couple of minutes to be caught offside like that, he's got to be more vigilant, does the 20-year-old from Morapa.
I guess maybe having missed out on the bulk of the action, and he can't wait to impress.
A little bit of pressure from Dan Ndlovu, who's looking very enthusiastic today. He's a big fella, he's Dan Ndlovu from Baroka.
He's actually not a top striker.
No, he's a left winger.
Yes, but because at the moment they don't have an out-and-out striker that can hold his own right at the top of the formation, because of his size, that's why he's been dropped in a little bit higher, and he needs to just try and manage the space using his body.
Kolofano stays on side this time. Oh, there's space inside the penalty area. They can't find second ball, though, as the ball gets muddled under the feet of the Zebras striker. And just for a moment, Pame Morwalela was threatening the goal of Olweto Mzimela. Anybody been got control over the ball first time? There might have been some work to be done by the 21-year-old Amazulu goalkeeper. There's Morwalela again. This is Ditsele. Oh, Ditsele's done nice to escape from 3 Bafana players, including Rowan Human. Nice little switch across to Dr. David, 21-year-old from Jwaneng Galaxy, who plays his first match of the tournament. This is match number 6 for Botswana. We'll have a chat about that just now, as soon as this move's completed. Nice work done by Cooper, cleared by Keegan Johannes, the captain of South Africa. Played at Cape Town Spurs before joining SuperSport United, and really has been impressive. So for that matter has Tupela Moseko, the teenager, in the midfield. And Zimela won't have to cover too much of that from Pame Morwalela. The man who scored the opening goal against Eswatini on Friday, he's looking hungry today.
And also, he was started a little bit to the wide left on that game, but today he's been drifted right, more central. I mean, look at the Tauyatswala, who has been more the top man for Botswana. Today has been drifted a little to the side, just to give Morena that opportunity in the center.
Well, you're quite right, because all of a sudden, Tauyatswala is playing sort of a left striker sort of position, and Morwalela has moved forward. So that's a little bit of a change in roles between those two sides. I like what I'm seeing early on here from Antonio van Beek. He looks as if he's got good ball control. He's got good spatial awareness and vision as well. As Kulikani Shezi runs out of space on the right-hand side. But I'm liking what I'm seeing from Antonio van Beek. Sometimes I feel that he's just in a little bit of a hurry too much. But one can understand the pressure that he wants to exert on the Zebras' defense.
But also his position, the nature of his position, there's always pressure around him, and you've got to play a little bit quicker. And sometimes up until you grow into this level of the game, you always push to play it a little bit quicker than you'd have wanted.
The ball aimed towards Tlamelo Kolefana, and obviously there's a game plan here from Mokomoti and Porte. He wants to use the fullback because we saw just for a moment earlier on that Lebogang Ditsele, the holding midfielder, dropped back into the middle between Tebogo Kopelang and Tato Kabui as a third defender, as Tauyatswala is brought down as a free kick for Botswana. And it just shows the organization. So he'll fall back, will Ditsele, into the center of the defenders and allow David and Kolefana to push forward as wing-backs. And it's quite impressive, the tactics that have been used by both Coach Mkalele and Mporte. 11th appearance in the COSAFA Cup alone between these two sides. It started all the way back on the 20th of February 1999. Where were you in 1999? Because you would have been 23 years old now. So those that are younger than 23 years old, you won't even know about that game. Maybe if you're 25 years old, you won't remember. 1999, jeepers, what a year, before the millennium.
The days of Dipsy Selwan.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was Dipsy Selwan scored in that game. Away by Johannes. Offside is the flag from the far side assistant referee from Zambia, Mekzulu. No, you're right. Dipsy Selwan scored in a 2-1 victory for South Africa, but he scored for Botswana, and Lanya and Perry scored for the South Africans. I remember Colin and Lanya.
I was about to tell you, he was one of the scorers, and that's how far we followed this game back then.
Quite incredible.
When the first few days, obviously, okay, that was about 8 years later for Bafana Bafana to feature, but we didn't quite understand then, sister, what the COSAFA football was like. We expected a full steam Bafana Bafana to be able to feature, but now we saw a few players being robbed in, and it was like, no, that's not Bafana Bafana. And obviously, with the years, we came to understand that this is the local part of Bafana Bafana, which is what you see here today. And a lot of teams brought their youthful squad, bit of a mix with experience, but overall, nowhere near the full strength squad of all the nations.
I was having a chat to Helman Kalele before we came upstairs, and he was saying to me that this team has an average age of just under 21 years old, and there are many of these players that are being targeted by the under 23 coach, David Notawani, and he's got a good relationship with David Notawani, says Helman Kalele. And the majority of these players then will be pushed into there for the Olympic Games in Paris and that Olympics game squad. But it's important because the Olympic Games is only every 4 years, and it's important that the players, the underage players or the not quite senior players, get an opportunity to play at COSAFA. So I understand the philosophy of SAFA and I understand the philosophy of Helman Kalele.
I'm sure the outcry, obviously, from South Africans that they feel cheated. The one pointing a finger, Michael, former defensive midfielder for the Zebras, played in South Africa for Maritzburg United, and obviously is great ahead now. We can hardly recognize the gentleman that he was in his youthful days.
Dr. David receiving a little bit of medical attention off the field of play. So Botswana without their right back, they are down to 10 players, and that's where South Africa needs to play, down the left-hand side of attack, where Van Wyk is waiting. Challenge from Kabui, but the decision's gone the other way. Dan Glover must have been a little naughty. Kabui is 25 years old from Gaborone United, who once again dominate the starting lineup here today for the Zebras. Not surprisingly, I suppose. This is Kopelang. Has to be careful in front of Antonio Van Wyk because he's blitzvannig. He's a very quick chap. Here's Van Wyk. Way by Ditsele. Kolechano turned back by Shezi. Some compact here from Bafana Bafana. Not giving too much away. I like the way they're pressurizing the man and the ball. And case in point with Katlego Moshigo, who plays for Portadown in Northern Ireland. Only foreign-based player in the starting lineup here for Bafana Bafana. And forcing Ditsele all the way back to Goetsione Poko. Away by Kopelang.
The structure is such that the two fullbacks of Botswana, you've already mentioned, Bilin David and Khalagano, have the freedom to play a bit forward. But what it means, it leaves a two central mid defensive unit in Kebua and Kopelang. But then they've got Itsele, who drops in to create a little bit of the three every now and then. He picks it from right in the box.
Umzimela under pressure, gives away a corner. Nice pressure being exerted by Tauya Tswala. Or wasn't, it was Morwalela, but just for a moment, Alberto Umzimela took his eyes off the ball. He nearly got himself in trouble, the 21-year-old. As Botswana earned their first corner of the plate final. Just a reminder, these two teams have met in the plate final in the 8th of June 2018 in Polokwane in South Africa. That's in the Limpopo province. the most northern province in South Africa. South Africa won by 3-0 with Matisha, Motiba, and Mabwe all scoring goals. I think Mabwe. Oh, that's a good save from Mzimela. Needed to be. Got down very sharply indeed. Did all way to. Not the tallest of goalkeepers, but I'll tell you what, his agility was rather sharp there. This is Venapi. And suddenly away by Dan and Globu, and things getting a little bit physical. The referee's going to have to watch that challenge from Dr. David.
It was a little bit confused earlier on when I saw Velapi playing right in the center of the midfield and with David going on the right fullback position. And I had to make the inquiry just to make sure.
Botswana are pushing hard. Even Ditsele near the edge of the penalty area. Mzimela could find himself quite busy here as Botswana trying the corner count up at 2 corners apiece. No goals in this one yet. There has to be a winner today. No extra time either in the plate final, and neither is there, by the way, in the 3rd and 4th placed playoff. Straight 90 minutes in penalties. The grand finale at 7 o'clock this evening, 1900 Central African time. Will have extra time if required.
Unbelievable. Even at this stage.
All in the penalty area. Appeal for a handball by the Zebras, who went up almost like a choir. It is a Sunday. Ditsele challenging. Oh, on goal from the captain, Keegan Johannes. And a 3rd corner in a row for Botswana. They really are pushing hard right now.
Choir. Come on. It is Sunday, of course. I'm with you on that one. Yes. Well, what is it doing in this stadium? The church choir.
Well, they all sing together. They all wait up together, singing at the same time for a penalty. The Zebras. Corner number 3 for Botswana. They're in the lead as far as corners are concerned, and more pressure being exerted. And that's another ball that's been pushed back by the defense of Atinkosi Naba. 4 corners in a row now for Botswana. Really are applying a lot of pressure, and South Africa needs to get all of that first ball instead of knocking it backward, knock it away from the danger zone. That's a little better from the captain, Keegan Johannes. And if Antonio van Beek can keep this in play, there could be some danger. Cooper dropping back. Antonio van Beek goes this way, that way. He's done well initially, but so has Poco.
You got to give it to Cooper because he slowed him down, and he managed to run across just to slow him down, and eventually almost like putting his body in front of Van Beek just to slow him down, allowing Poco the opportunity to come out and snap the ball and spot the ball. It's a good break, for Bafana Fana.
And which is showing his pace. We were speaking about the pace of Antonio van Beek, and he showed it right there. Here he's in possession again. It's a nice little tickle out wide as well. Glovu. Space for Sydney Maliba. Just giving the ball away now. Tayat Swallow. Morualela, not a great first touch from him. It looked like a handball from Macbeth Mahlangu. Oh, and a bit of a mistake in defense. Johannes got very lucky there. Very lucky. There's Mark Fish. He's a bit of a legend, isn't he?
Without a doubt. The days of the real Bafana Bafana. The 1996.
Oh, we used to hear that cry of Fish, and then
shoe.
The overseas and shoes, yeah. May his soul rest in peace. The striker that played for Amazulu in the number 1 jersey. You might have disputed that if you were in the camp. Say, oh, Roy, what you doing with that, mate? But he played in the number 1 jersey as a striker. Shoes Mashweo. What a great boy. And then you had later on Matthew Booth. Let's talk about Rowan Human, though. He's away, and he stayed on side. Trying to curl it around the captain Kabui, who positioned himself perfectly. And Matthew Booth, for the international viewers that were watching the South African side playing, when Booth got the ball and the South African fans were saying Booth, and they thought they were booing their own player. It was like, oh, come on, get in the game here. He's a big fella. Matthew Booth.
Yes. I mean, those names. You mentioned the fish and shoes, Booth, and then who? That is Lucas.
Oh, Lucas Hadid, yes. What a legend. And what he did with Leeds United was absolutely legendary. I mean, there was still, I think there was a bus named after him, wasn't there? Or there were a whole bunch of things named after him. I'm sure there's a grandstand as well. Botswana pushing forward, space for a goal. Great save, Mzimela of Cooper. That wasn't Cooper, but top save indeed from Mzimela. That's fantastic.
That's an excellent reaction save. I mean, zero reaction time. It's more like unspacing where the ball is more likely to go, but unbelievable. That is top class. That I'm sure will do a world of good for his confidence going forward.
It was Morumolela who had the opportunity. Beto Mzimela will remember that the rest of his life.
Listen, I'll be proud myself to pull a save of that nature. I mean, time in between the header and the save, zero.
No, it happens in the blink of an eye. In another corner then for Botswana again. Botswana heading in the wrong direction. I'm not sure whether that's a tactical move, but Mlaba now 3 times in a row has headed back almost instead of knocking it sort of away at an angle, a 45-degree angle away from the penalty area. I'm not sure if he's not feeling good today, Mlaba, because he was really impressed. I like the look of the Stellenbosch teenager against Madagascar on Friday. Seems he's not quite here.
You will arrive.
Some free kick here to Alberto Mzimela. Nothing wrong with the challenge of Kabui, says referee Abdul Mohammed from the Comores. And Lennon Glovo, 20 years old, is up against an experienced man from Botswana, the 25-year-old skipper Kabue. Morumolela intention putting pressure on Mzimela. And so far, Mzimela's done exceptionally well, in my opinion. That time it's Basawepaka Tataniani who got knocked around a little bit. Free kick for Botswana. Winners of Group A, as we said, this is their 6th match. And William, the tournament's only 2 weeks long. They've played 6 matches, which means a match every second day at international level. It must take some toll.
Talk about that just now.
Mzimela stays on his line. Dr. David makes a complete hash of the header. Cooper then, the lovely little bit of skill. Like the deflection that came from Macbeth Mflangu. And Kabui from the halfway line. All the way back to Poko.
And from what I've seen of Cooper, he seems to be operational with his left and right, and very confident with his left as well. That's, I think, the value that he brings. Maybe a little bit ahead of Ditsele. If you look at where Vilapi has been slotted in, maybe it will be Ditsele just in front of the back four, and then Vilapi and Cooper, which allows Cooper that little bit of freedom to push forward. It's almost like a rest day for him. He doesn't have to chase so far back to get in goal.
Maliba goes back to Mzimela, who's not taking any chances with the clearance. I'm sure that both coaches will want to win this in regulation time. Both of these sides lost on penalties in the quarter-final stage. South Africa goalless against Mozambique, losing 5-4 on penalties, and Botswana 1-1 against Zambia, losing by the same scoreline on penalties. Goal kick this time behind Tataniane.
Galane being rested today, and Tataniane making his entry on the left-hand side or right-hand side of the wide position.
Is I think Kosi Mlaba. It had been a very decisive moment. It turned out to be that way from Swala. No, it wasn't. It was
I think it was Vilapi.
Vilapi, yeah.
Yeah, I guess maybe he forgot that he's a little bit higher in the field and the goals closer than they are when he's at right back. So he cleared like a fullback.
See Spinello clearly getting an opportunity to play today. The former Utongati man playing at the Montville Golden Arrows, who use this field as their home ground. 21 times he started in the Premier League last season. Spinello clearly at the age of 20, so he's certainly got a future on his hands, finishing just out of the top 8 last season. Forward by Kopelang. They're holding the ball rather nicely here. Tatanyane. Good recovery from Krele. But even the second ball is falling the way of David, and David looking for Tatanyane Ayatswalo. We'll cut inside here from Golechano. Good pressure from the top from Rowan Human. I like the way that Human defended from the top of the field. As soon as the ball was turned over, every attacking player then becomes a defender as well. Alfred Velapi plays nicely to get in and out side of Spinello Tele. Cooper. Good work done to get hold of Golechano. Now it's Ditsele. Ball and Van Vyk at the same time. Now Van Vyk, he gets cut down rather hectically by Golechano. That's got to be a yellow card.
The amount of work from Van Vyk that you got to appreciate how he drops so far deep. You spoke earlier about Human, how he applies the pressure right from the onset, and got to add that of Van Vyk dropping so far deep to help out defensively.
Big challenge from Detsele on Rowan Human. Big height differential between the two players and offside against the Zebras. No goals in the plate final at the moment. We are at the Sugar Ray Kulu Stadium in Clermont. It's a big day at the Hollywood Bets COSAFA Cup 2022. Basically, one could say it's 3 finals. The plate final for sure. The 3rd and 4th place playoff is the losers final, some would say. The bronze medal match. Oh, sleepy defense again from Ngaba. And again, South Africa get away with it. Just a little sleepy on a couple of occasions so far, Ngaba. Cooper fighting hard here. Too much so on the back of Kiseko Moshiro.
If you look at his body structure, Cooper, you can underestimate him and think if you like playing alongside him or against him, it's going to be a walk in the park. But his bite here, he can clip your ankles, he can make life under pressure. But also, when he's on the ball, he can afford that additional second to make a clear decision of where he wants to play the ball. Very few players have that ability about them. But obviously, that takes being protective of the ball.
Rowan Human. There's a Botswana player that's down at the moment. South Africa not interested in that whatsoever. Nice little ball through the middle. Van Vyk. A goal! Clearance from Kabui, hits Van Vyk, goes in the net, South Africa lead. Doesn't matter how they come, the attacking players will claim it.
And Paco taken completely by surprise at the ricochet of the ball. That didn't leave him with much time to react to it. But yes, while it's an own goal, but you must understand that there was pressure. That clearance came under a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Down to 10 men temporarily. South Africa continued to play, even though one of the players, I think it was Tatanyane, who was down with an injury. And South Africa benefiting from a little bit of good fortune, one would think. And the coach understandably not happy.
Because there was a foul. There was a possible foul
yes,
just before that goal, which is where the argument is.
Antonio Van Vyk stuck to his guns, stayed in the kitchen, and instruction from Mark Williams, and forced the mistake out of Poco.
And in fact, it wasn't a foul. There was a Botswana player you mentioned already down. The longest period that the ref maybe could have, or maybe for that team, though they're not obligated to it, but just for sportsmanship sake, maybe they should have pushed that ball on the side just to allow the treatment to the player.
I was watching that very carefully to see whether Bafana would in fact do that. They decided not to. And Tatanyani is an attacking player, so I don't think they were worried about that. I don't think Botswana were too worried either because they had all their players back defensively. But Antonio van Wyk, one has to give credit for his persistence on the attack. South Africa lead by 1-0. South Africa starting to warm up a couple of change players, and one of them is the left back, Sianda Msani, who played for Tuks and played in just about every match in this season. 33 of them out of 34 matches, including the promotional playoff system. Really, really top fullback. He's gone from Tuks to Mamelodi Sundowns again. But I really do like the look of Sianda Msani. And if he comes on, I'm not sure that Simonele has done too much wrong. But maybe he needs more cover for Atinkosi Mnaba, who again, I don't think is quite got into the match just yet. There are two players warming up for Bafana. I'm trying to recognize who the other one is.
I think it's Rasibocha, the central midfield of
I thought he played for Rasibocha. So way back Kopelang. One could argue as well, William, that the South African goal came against the run of play, because at that stage Botswana were all over South Africa, creating opportunity. 6 corner kicks they had almost in a row. And suddenly a little breakaway, and South Africa benefit from that attempted clearance from their goalkeeper, which ricochets against the 20-year-old from Stellenbosch van Wyk and finds the net.
Missing from Bafana this morning is the quality of the entries, something that had a slight improvement from the second game into the tournament, and something that the coach spoke highly about, that if there's one thing that didn't work out well, is the entries went of quality and they went as frequent. So, and I think they reverted back to that. Whether it's the structure of Botswana that has not helped their cause, I'm not sure.
Instructions being given there. Off the bench. Certainly, Selaelo Rasibocha is one of the players that's going to come on. The other is Sianda Msani, and some instructions of just maybe he's going to be allowed the latitude to push forward a little bit in the change of structure. Although South Africa have been playing with a back three instead of a back four and allowing the wing backs, just as Botswana have done with David and Golagano, to push forward. Ball comes off Kopelang under pressure from Antonio van Wyk, who really has played rather impressively today for Bafana.
First game, pre-season, second game, competitive stage. Now it's full-on season for Bafana. We expect a lot better with the time that they spent together and the games played.
Not sure why the referees running across to the near side here. There's something been said, or there might have been something said by the Botswana coach, and I think it was back to what is. If you look in the foreground, and you can't really see it, but if you look in the foreground, Coach Bokamoti Mpote is maybe signaling to the referee that why did you stop play when Tatanyani was injured? Okay, let's have a look at the changes then. It's going to be Simonele Klele, who's going to make way for Msani on the left side, the fullback position, which I think is a little unfortunate for Klele, but he wants to strengthen up the left-hand side of defense under the threat of Tatanyani, does Harmanum Klele. And then another change is going to be Katecha Moshigo, who's only had nearly 40 minutes of play. He's going to make way, and in his place will be Selaelo Rasibocha. So another strengthening up of the midfield, maybe a little bit more structure there, a little bit more thought process from a man at SuperSport United who played 16 times in South Africa's Premier League. He's only 21 years old. But game time for Moshigo, game time for Klele. The more experienced men have come on. I spoke to Harman Kalele before we came upstairs to commentary, William, and I asked him about that. I said, would you be, you've made 8 changes. Would you be afraid to make changes before halftime? He said, absolutely not. Well, there's proof of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Touchdown by Kabui. Nice pickup here from Rowan Human. And immediately there's a touch for Rasibocha in front of Cooper, but he does lose out. Was that a handball from Morolela? Absolutely. 5 minutes to play before first half stoppage time. We will have a bit of stoppage time as well, but it's been an entertaining half. Oh, Morolela has got a limp problem. That'll be a bit of a miss if he's not able to continue, but he's limping it a bit awkwardly there. Is Bame. Plays at Township Rollers, the 21-year-old striker. As you said, he plays on the left-hand side, but today's been given an opportunity to play in a more forward role after that goal he scored against Eswatini on Friday. Velapi given an opportunity to change his position as well. I'm not sure about Msani putting his head down into a challenge there, but Tatanyani. Or space down the middle here for Rowan Human. And South Africa have turned this match around a bit.
Thought process from Van Beek, brilliant. I mean, there was a cluster of defenders in front of him, and decided just to loft that ball over them to try and get Human on the run. But maybe a bit too much pressure was applied on his pass. But the idea just to say, okay, how do I find this man on the run here? It's brilliant.
Ditsele for the Zebras, suffering that setback in the 35th minute with a goal from Van Beek. Nothing wrong with having an international goal, is there? Botswana. Kabui will intervene before the ball reaches Poko. Rowan Human applying pressure. There's a high press from Human and from Antonio Van Beek. They're really doing nicely together. Van Beek again escapes past Ditsele. Not many people have done that. Now, Razipocha. This is Shezi. First time ball in towards Ndlovu. Ndlovu gets around Kapui and then loses his battle. goes wide. 1 minute of time has been added on to the end of the first half of the plate final. One, Botswana nil. The goal came maybe in fortuitous circumstances, but pressure leads to goals. Pressure leads to penalties. Pressure leads to own goals. Pressure leads to a defender kicking the ball against an attacking player and ricocheting into the net, which was what we saw from Van Wyk earlier on. Mahlangu. Keegan Johannes will be happy to have his side into half-time, leading by a goal to nil. The final touch comes from a SuperSport United player in substitute, Salelo Razibocha. Botswana had most of the play, most of the corners, the set pieces alike going into the first half. But South Africa fighting back with that goal from Van Wyk after 35 minutes, and then taking charge of the match and nearly getting a second from Van Wyk as he burst his way into the penalty area. But unfortunately wasn't able to complete the job with a shot across the face of the goal of Goetsioni Poko. At half-time, though, in the plate final in Clermont, it is South Africa who lead over Botswana by 1-0.
With the largest sardine run on earth and once-in-a-lifetime Big Five encounters, the Zulu Kingdom is home to unforgettable experiences around every corner. From the mighty Ukahlamba Drakensberg Mountains to the warm KZN beaches, Ziyakhipha. The Zulu Kingdom is an action-adventure paradise waiting to be explored. Unforgettable happens here. Zwagala! Zwagala!
possession. Underway then for the second half. Everything to play for as far as Botswana are concerned. They continue to goal in most unfortunate circumstances. With Antonio Fafake bursting it into the penalty area. The shot ricocheted off Poco, the goalkeeper of the Zebras. Fafake went into the empty net. South Africa lead by 1-0. So the South African side playing in the green and gold, defending the sun end of the Sugar Red Kulu Stadium. Botswana playing in black and white with the blue stockings. They defend the southern end of the stadium. Well, Tswalo gets one in the soft midriff area, and he's going to need some attention. William Shongwe joins me for the second half, the former Eswatini international goalkeeper. An entertaining first half, but Botswana have made changes in the second here. And is it going to benefit them with the introduction of Kgape Tshepedi?
It's important that they do so. When we're off air, me and you discussed the impact, obviously, of Botswana playing so many games against the three of Bafana Bafana. And you could see that, yes, the hearts are there, but the sharpness of Botswana is not quite there. Instead, it is Bafana Bafana that they've shown better flashes of their quality. But the change is made. That's why it's important to now and then reshuffle the team, introduce fresh legs just to see if we can maintain the tempo of the game.
That's what back on his feet again. He'll be a little sensitive for a moment or two, but I'm sure he'll be able to run it off at some stage. Normally, when Kgape Tshepedi comes on, the 22-year-old from Gaborone United, he plays as a left winger. It looks as if he's playing almost as an attacking midfielder at the moment in front of Ditsele, so maybe that combination is going to work. But you've also got Cooper in the midfield as well. So it's an interesting change made by Mokhomotsi and Porte. Maybe he's gone to a back four with the three in the midfield. It's going to be interesting to see how the half turns out, though. South Africa not making any changes at half time, but we did see two first half changes, and Sani was one of them, who came on for Spinello Tlele, shows a good bit of skill in the middle, finds the other substitute, Razebocha, who was brought on for Katlego Moshiko. He's developing into such a fine player, is Razebocha. Good ball through the middle here. Msani now. His first touch wasn't great. The ball's been turned away as well. Toya Tswalo seems to have recovered his senses. Oh, the ball's been given away, and you can't give it away to a big man like Van Wyk. First time ball from Van Wyk as well. This is Dan Ndlovu. Again, back to Van Wyk. It's nice cover from Botswana defensively, because I thought there might have been a shot on for Bafana Bafana. It didn't turn out that way. And they still battling to get the ball anywhere near the penalty area. South Africa. So it's impressive from Botswana defensively, and a test for the young South African squad to try and get away from a system that is very packed defensively.
Just as well that Botswana has done so well. A wall of black shirts in front of Bafana Bafana. But also, I think credit must go to the young stars of Bafana Bafana in that they opted to just rotate the ball, recycle defensively, instead of trying to force a matter that maybe is not quite there. Possession is just so much more important in football if you want to win a game. By playing it backwards, it's like you're trying to disrupt whatever defense structure that was there for Botswana. And that, for me, is quality from the young stars.
There's a foot up in the middle of the park from Sydney Maliva on Lebacham Ditsele. The referee allows play to continue. Keegan Johannes with a header. Forward by Rowan Human. Now an opportunity for Dan Ndlovu. Nice little cutting from Ndlovu. Van Wyk. He's used that back pass a couple of times, and on that occasion not quite working towards Rowan Human. I do like the ideas, though, from the 20-year-old from Stellenbosch. Scored the only goal of the match so far. Ditsele finding Tshepedi, return ball to Ditsele. The ball of Johannes is benefited by Tatanyani. It's a nice flow about Botswana in this move. The ball comes off Cooper, and almost a similar situation to the goal scored by Van Wyk, except that Nzimbela He's able to claim it rather nicely. One has to commend him, Zimela, for that one save he made in the first half from Bame Morualela. To react in the blink of an eye, took the ball over the crossbar, but really was terrific. South Africa just battling to control the ball here with the first touch in the second half. Maybe it's the pressure from Botswana, because ball and play arriving at the same time is making it difficult for Bafana. Glovo, such a good piece of defending from Kopelang. You know what was good about it for me? He said he didn't panic. He just stuck to his player, didn't foul him, just tipped the ball away from the Barocca left winger.
It's amazing, Evans. The view from just the different media platforms and some of the people that are attending this game. The view of Kopelang, that is very slow, and what's his name? Van Beek can rip him apart with his speed, and I'm like, are they watching the same games as us?
Clearly not.
The thing is, he might be slow, but he reads the game well. Even if as long as he does the job defensively well, his speed comes to nothing. Yes, one day you come across a rare species of players that are very fast, but if you still better reading of the game, then you're doing good.
Human will team one up and test Poco. Ball might be going wide anyway, but Poco wasn't taking any chances. And it's a good save from Tione. It's a nice shot as well from Rowan Human.
I still expect a lot more from him. I think he's better quality than what we've seen in this tournament. That could also, maybe his problem could be that maybe he didn't have that regular time of game time at Maritzburg United. But, this hope will give him time to raise this game, and when the season starts, he'll at a high level.
Taba tracking the attack from Botswana. And eventually causing the cross to go a little bit wayward. It's good to see that Coach Alman Kalel has retained, I think, Kosi Mngaba next to Keegan Johannes in the centre of defence for Bafana, because I didn't think particularly that the teenager from Stellenbosch had a good first half. A couple of times that he headed the ball into the wrong areas, maybe. He looked a bit indecisive at times, but I think he settled down. Maybe the introduction of Msani alongside of him has given him a little breather of confidence. Now, Van Beek behind Itsele. And again, Kopelang chooses the right option. This is Dr. David. Nice skill from the fullback, initially anyway.
Simple going about it is Kopelang. Maybe doesn't do the amazing things, pinging that ball from the one channel to the other, diagonal ball, or maybe taking the attackers and weaving his way through the middle. But I think for the young player that he is, he's going to stick to the basics. And the experience will come, and the composure will come for him to maybe explode into the next level of his game so that we see more. But right now, I think he's sticking to the basics.
Teotwala. Little touch back towards the left-sided fullback, Kolachano. Cooper. Continue to apply pressure. They're being a little more patient in the second half, Botswana. It's a foul from Sydney Maliba. Slight breeze blowing from the northeast, coming down the coast from Richards Bay side and slightly behind Botswana. Cooper goes for goal. Good save from Zimela. They're looking for second ball. They don't get it though. Ball under play here. Tatanyani looks to take the throw, changes his mind. Slowly but surely, the Zebras are starting to apply pressure. Dr. David in possession. Runs out of space under pressure from Msani.
Freshened legs is the result of this better tempo that they seem to have picked up.
There's only been 3 goalless draws in the 4 draws between these two sides, but 10 previous appearances. There won't be a goalless draw in this one, with South Africa having scored already through Antonio van Wyk. Good defense there as well from Johannes in front of Tatanyani, who's a quick player.
I didn't want to add on to the voice that you made earlier about Nkaba. And this opportunity just availed itself for Botswana right now. It's a ball that he played too far ahead of himself with no pressure. And I was trying to avoid getting on board with you, thinking that he'll recover. Maybe it's just one small mistake. He seemed to have gone to make wrong choices. And obviously in that defensive position where he plays, you need to be a bit more clinical. You need to be a bit wiser. I was talking about Kopelang sticking to the basic, and I think that's what Nkaba can do for himself, just so that he doesn't drop in confidence.
A little bit from Nkaba there, in front of Tipedi and Tandile Pansari. I think that combination, and if he has got to get himself back into the game, it's about a combination play. Johannes gets the ball away, falls to Van Wyk, challenged by Kopelang, right near the halfway line. Maliva almost leaves the ball behind. Van Wyk looks up. Doesn't provide quite the cross that has been looked for by Rowan Human. Human's been full of running today. Tipedi's got a fresh pair of legs though. Nicely cut out by the South African defenders. Macbeth Mahlangu still on the field of play. Now it's Cooper. Players in each other's space for a moment. Swallow and Tipedi. Tipedi seems to have been given a bit of a free roll now. Cooper behind Mahlangu. The TX Galaxy man covers nicely. Still pressure on the South African goal. Mahlangu will have it away, but not to a teammate. And again, Botswana going through one of these phases where they apply waves and waves of pressure. Saw that in the first half. And then the goal came from Van Wyk, and suddenly Botswana looked to reconsider their options. Dr. David Ditsere. Look how high the line is, though. The furthest defender back is Kabui, and he's 2 meters ahead of the edge of the center circle. That's how prominent Botswana are being at the moment. It was a nice little touch from Moroalela. This is Cooper. Tipedi. Dr. David. Might have been an offside. There is an offside.
Hey, they're turning the heat on, eh? They're looking good. Suddenly they found in voice that their touch is the better. Touches, they playing a little bit more into that, taking third with steady build-ups, but quality passes to get themselves that high.
Nice to see Porter in the house. Nice to see a couple of changes coming up for South Africa. Jaden Adams, who had a good match, I thought, against Madagascar in an attacking midfield role. Also looks as if Ethan Brooks might be warming up as well. Former TX Galaxy player who now signed for Amazulu, who played just down the road at the Moses Mabhida Stadium, sometimes at the Kings Park Rugby Stadium.
What goes on into the game basically speaks volume to what the coach can do. I mean, with Botswana upping the tempo, you suddenly now beginning to think yourself, yes, there's got to be a change. You got to freshen up that midfield. And the players that we're just talking about now, for me, they're a result of what's happening in the group play. Clearly, Botswana has taken over the game.
There's a foul off the ball there by Kopelang. That's why the referee's having a word to him, because there was nothing wrong with the defense. And after the ball had been pushed away and the free kick had been given, a little boot into the legs of Dan and Vlobo from Tebogo Kopelang, which is a bit naughty. So South Africa looking to refresh the midfield. They've already brought on a couple of players in the first half from Sani and Razebocha. Razebocha doing nicely in the middle of the park. So we hear that Sydney Maliva is going to be making way. And we hear that Rowan Human is going to make way for Ethan Brooks, who is yet to start in a match in this tournament for Bafana has come on twice as a substitute. Will be coming on for his second time. He did come on against Madagascar's side. So substitution time. It's going to be Jaden Adams who will come on for an appearance in the place of Sydney Maliva. So that's a midfield change.
Like for like.
And then Ethan Brooks on for Rowan Human.
Meaning that he'll be given a little bit of leverage to pounce a bit forward. It's the quality of his passes and his experience at this level. Eden Brooks is what they will bring to take the game, the rest of the game of Botswana, and help the team play a bit more on the front foot.
It's interesting when Ethan Brooks came onto the field of play because he immediately had a little chat to Antonio van Wyk, suggesting that he must play much more of a central role alongside of Dan and Globo. Globo's offside though, and Globo had started offside. It's almost ready to criticize Antonio van Wyk for mistiming the pass, but Dan and Globo had already started in an offside position.
Sometimes I think the player on the ball, that slight delay to deliver on the front pass, ends up putting the player that is making run offside.
Kopelang for Botswana. They trail by a goal to nil. It's the ball into the back of Ethan Brooks. He's just 20 years old. He played 25 times for TX Galaxy last season. Caught the attention of the national team coaches as well as the owners of Amazulu. Bame Morolela had a great save against him by the South African goalkeeper Mzimela during the first half. And he's going to make way for Udirili Lekoba, the extension Gunners 22-year-old right winger. So both players that have come on for the South African side, Ethan Brooks and Jaden Adams, and the Botswana substitution, Udirili Lekoba, refreshing the midfield, and it just adds to what we're going to see in the final half an hour of this match because it's starting to get a little bit intense out there.
Well, Jaden Adams has been welcomed into the field of play with this clip from behind. And he will play exactly the same position as Maliba was playing, holding that anchoring role in front of the 4 or 3 defenders in behind him. But obviously, it doesn't carry that weight of a defensive midfielder if you talk structure. But he's brilliant. I mean, he slows down the game, and now and then he knocks in the passes. I mean, at a time whereby they cannot play expansive football, it's Bafana, but you need players that can help hold the ball a bit more, and Jaden provides that.
Back to Mzimela. Gets the right angle, looking for Antonio van Wyk. They headed away by Kopelang. Maba growing in confidence, and now he's starting to play the better football. He's knocked over just for a moment by Tatanyani. It's brilliant by Msani. He might have given possession away to Kolachano, but it was away from the danger zone. The header's gone wide from Tatanyani. Just for a moment, both of the central defenders, Johannes and Maba, have taken knocks.
I think they climbed onto one another more than I think. Not enough communication between the two.
I can tell you that Johannes and Maba both have regained their footing. Now the referee is going to give a yellow card here to Mzimela for time wasting.
As I say, a little enthusiastic from the man in the middle. Well, I didn't have the time clock to be able to monitor the amount of time, but some referees, take into account the slight delays and allow a bit more. But in this case, it'll be assumed as delaying tactics because Bafana ended in the lead.
Kolachano seems to have lost a bit of the flair that we saw during the first half. He drifts off the field side of the field of play as well, gives possession back to Bafana. Johannes goes just behind Ethan Brooks. Back by Ditsele. Away by Maklangu. Now, Ethan Brooks with ball at feet. He's always an impressive sight. Msani, look to thread the eye of the needle, but has good defense from Dr. David. All the way back 50 yards to Mzimela. And the ball taken away by Tibeti, but that's offside against Tayatswala, who suddenly, in the absence of Bame Morwalela, takes up the leading striker role once again, instead of playing on the left-hand side. South Africa leading Botswana by a goal to nil. We're 20 minutes into the second half. Don't forget, this match has to have a resolution today. No extra time, straight into penalties if it's a deadlock, with whatever score.
Well, I was thinking to myself when you make this point earlier about the later game, the final that is going to have additional time. I'm thinking to myself, this after these players have given so much, and then they are being punished almost like to say, yes, for the reason that you stay this long, you know, you're going to pay for winning this.
I'd like to know why the referee is bringing a free kick back to the halfway line with a foul on the South African Jaden Adams when the ball was put through to the South African striker Dan Ndlovu, and he was heading towards the Botswana penalty area. What about advantage play, sir? Kopelang to Kabue. It's a lot more purposeful from Botswana. Don't forget, there are 6 matches in the legs of some of these players. They played all the matches for Botswana in the starting lineup. Those that have come off the bench have participated in many of those matches as well. So it's a tough task for Botswana today. 6 matches in the space of 14 days. But I think they're acquitting themselves rather nicely. Kabue with a good little ball here. Botswana looking for Lekoba. Naditsele. It's a good save from Zimele to get down eventually. Tibeti took his time. I don't think the shot had that much venom. It did seem to be at the end of the day, because Zimele was forced into parrying it away.
Looked like a delayed reaction from Zimela, but finally he got his hands to it and pushed it wide. Just the black shirts in and around the area. And it bounced back into the infield. Dangerous.
South Africa looking to win the plate competition for the 4th time in 5 years. We get to win the cup competition in 2021. Kolofana goes back to Kabue. Still a high line being played by Botswana on the halfway line as far as the defensive structure is concerned. Kopelang weighing his options. Cooper was in the play. Tatanyani. Nice take from Zimela. Tatanyani putting Maba under pressure. Maba to Msani. Nice work done by Ethan Brooks to create the angle. Ball left behind by Jaden Adams. Pick up by Cooper. We were chatting about something in the car on the way here to the stadium. William, a little move from Cooper. That was a pirouette. You asked me about that.
Yeah. Thank you. You got to understand that this term or word is used so often by Kevin Evans, and I begin to be very concerned that I don't see any dancers in the field of play.
It's not quite a ballet, is it?
But yes, it made a lot of sense eventually.
Seen a couple of those back heels from Ndlovu. We've seen them from Van Wyk as well. None of them have really worked to any great degree. Nkaba is a different player in the second half. Maybe Coach Amalam Kalele just went to him and said, there's nothing wrong with the way you play. Just stick to the basics, get your head right. Not nicely there.
I'm thinking to myself, he must have gone into his face and said, stop that. But Mkele being who he is, he must have put it nicely. And, he comes across like a soft guy, but when he gets into your face, I'm sure you get the full sense of the message that he's trying to put through.
Yeah, he's a thorough gentleman and a great ambassador for the game of football. Can he be tough? Yeah, I'm sure he can. Cooper benefiting from the knockdown by Titsele. Kolechano. Not a bad ball from Kolechano. Doesn't reach Tatanyane. The minutes are ticking by now because there's only 20 minutes in stoppage time remaining. So we get to the end of the plate file. And don't forget, at the Moses Mapida Stadium, 2 matches this afternoon. The 3rd and 4th placed playoff, as well as the grand finale in Zambia and Namibia. What a match between Zambia and Senegal yesterday. Zambia leading by 4 goals to 1 at one stage. Eventually won 4-3 with a great fight back from the Lions.
Their first game, not the most impressive. And they barely made it through in a shootout. And the point I'm trying to make is, for all the teams that I've seen, their first games weren't the most impressive. But once they play the second game, they get better. And this is what we saw of the Zambian side. And they promised us that they bring their best in the local league. And that was clear against Senegal.
Bit of pressure being exerted by Oderile Lekoba. Turnover ball here for South Africa. Maba, Johannes. Off the back of Cooper. Cooper again with a little touch in there from Kolechano. Maklango. Ethan Brooks. Oh, a bit fortunate maybe to keep the possession. Maklango again. Brooks gets another little touch on it. His mind is always working overtime. Is Ethan Brooks.
Yeah, stamp your authority. You're the host. And yes, you didn't make it to the semi-final or to the final, but play like the champions.
Oh, space for Msani, the fullback. He puts pressure on Poko. Just for a moment, didn't get as much support from Kopelang that I feel he might have warranted in the situation. Kipui, Kolechano. Both South Africa and Botswana looking to make substitutions, but the ball's got to go to play first. Ethan Brooks with a little give and go. Nice touches from Bafana. Jaden Adams in a bit of space. Looking for Msani. If he looks around. Brooks looking to go goalward. Oh, cut down very nicely was the gap by Mortusi Cooper. I like the way Mortusi Cooper plays. He's box to box, but he's also got a good footballing brain. He gets into the right positions at the right times, and I do really like the way he plays. Substitution time, though, for Botswana. Let's have a look at the changes then. It's going to be 16 for 12. So Kolechano is going to make way here for Benson Mangolo. It's an interesting change, though, because Kolechano's left back and Mangolo played as a right full back in the previous matches. Dan Ndlovu will be replaced by Keletso Sifama, who scored against Madagascar on Friday. So striker for striker. I don't think Dan Ndlovu has had a bad match, to be honest.
No, not at all. For somebody that has been just dropped into that striking role, I think he did his fair share of effort in trying to hold the ball and allow the midfielders to get a little bit closer. But it's becoming clear that he's being challenged. Sifama was more natural, also a little bit to the wide side, but he can play. He was very effective when he played as a top striker.
Really looking for possession here. Kopelang. There's a foul, though, from Keletso Sifama, the teenager from Kaizer Chiefs.
Excellent delivery to find David from Cooper.
Dr. David then. The foul on Mhlaba. South Africa lead by a goal to nil. That is all that it takes in a game of football, is to win a football match. Nice header away. Good elevation from Kopelang. It's going to come under some scrutiny again, and a fresh pair of legs. Sifama. We're looking for the dummy.
Well read.
Absolutely. Tatanyani challenging Mngaba. Mngaba's positioning has been far better in the second half.
He's finally arrived.
He's back, yeah.
He's finally arrived. He was somewhere alongside the road coming to Claremont, and for the whole first half. But I think he's finally kicked into the right gear for what we know we can play.
Still a lot of belief in the Zebras camp that they can draw level, maybe snaffle this away from South Africa. The best that the Zebras have been able to do is runners-up positions. Cooper in space, Tipedi, Gitsele. Nice little fight back from Van Wyk, who's been quiet for a little while.
He's dropped into more central midfield position, and I think for me he's a bit lost in as far as the game is concerned, because he likes to play the little wider position where he has full view of the pitch from the one side, and now he's got to deal with other channels to find his positioning.
Mangolo into the penalty area. South Africa on the offensive once again. It's going to be a bit of a chase on here for Sifama. And also for Van Wyk. As Van Wyk run himself out of the game at the moment, I think he might have
clearly
lost his legs a little bit.
Yeah. You can see the hunger to run into things is not quite there anymore.
He's trying to make me eat my words. No foul as it gets a bit roughhoused from Lebachang Ditsele, the holding midfielder. Tawa Tswala loses out to Mahlangu. Msani done well initially to get past Dr. David. Match becoming a little bit fast and loose, but one can understand that. It's been a very tough competition for Botswana. Did brilliantly well to finish at the top of Group A. Dr. David through the middle. Toyatswala. Tipedi. Ditsele was looking dangerously in front of Mzimela, and I thought Mzimela did rather nicely.
Under pressure, you've got to understand, when you go up, and even the slightest of touches from underneath can put you off. But he stayed true to the flight of the ball and blocked it out of the air beautifully.
Sani with a delivery in towards Jaden Adams. Switch play. Kabui manages to get his foot on the ball. So does Poko. South Africa still having a couple of quick players on the field of play at the moment. Ethan Brooks is one of them. Tony Van Wyk might have just lost a yard or two of pace, but given the right opportunity, I think he'll ghost himself into space. And Kabui and Kopelang still have to be a little watchful. Referee wanting the throw in to come. Van Wyk does exactly that. Van Wyk again. Now, there's been a foul committed over on that far side, and the whole gaggle of South African players around. The South African who's down injured looks like Kulakani Shezi. And a red card, a straight red. Looks like Oderile Lakoa is the man who's going to go off, and there's a big protest from Benson Mangolo to referee Abdul Mohammed. Well, it looks like a number 14 for Botswana has gone straight into the book, straight off the field of play. There he is. Oderile Lakoa. He's only just come on for Bame Morualela in a striker's role. And takes the walk of shame.
He's got to be ashamed of himself. I mean, that actually the initial foul I don't think was the red card offense, but something that he did thereafter to the player that was lying down.
It's a long walk of shame, because he walked off on the far side near the halfway line. So he's going to go half of the pitch, back behind the goal of the South African goalkeeper, and then all the way to the tunnel. And
a long walk.
He's got a long walk to think about his actions. And of course, the coaching staff will take notice of that as well. The 22-year-old from Extension Gunners came on as a substitute, gets sent off. Now South Africa are playing against a 10-man opposition. Jaden Adams through the middle, space for a second goal, and it's Razibocha who will put South Africa clear.
It's amazing what the fresh legs can do. At the time when Botswana seemed to be picking up their bit, almost like the same situation that arose when Botswana played against Eswatini. Yeah, it was a Eswatini game, and Botswana all they did was just score the goal, and then took the foot off the pedal and waited for another man to score the goal. And right now, that's where Botswana are at now. On the receiving end, I mean, honestly, they were building up. They look very convincing up until that slight change of the midfield players. Razibocha comes in, Eden Brooks comes in, and suddenly there's a rise of tempo. He now looks like a senior player in this team, Razibocha. Well, it's just a young star in as far as SuperSport United, but for the few games that they got towards the end of the season, suddenly elevated his stature that he arrives here like more of a senior player.
South Africa making a substitution, or is it? No, it's the injury to Kulukani Shezi. Don't forget Shezi was injured with that foul that led to the sending off of Lekoba. He's back on the field of play. South Africa lead by 2-0, and they are playing against a 10-man opposition. There's the goal scorer of the second goal, Selelo Razibocha, 21-year-old midfielder from SuperSport United. Joins the 20-year-old from Stellenbosch, who had that fortuitous goal. Nothing fortuitous about the second goal, which is worked for by South Africa. Mangolo with the ball near the penalty area. Mangolo gets man and ball at the same time. It's going to be a free kick for Botswana. Tough one with players from both sides. In fact, it is Bafana who will benefit. Two number 12s colliding with each other, because that's Razibocha, the goal scorer. As soon as you score a goal, you know you've got a target on your back, don't you? Looking a bit uncomfortable here. It's the man who contributed 16 times in appearances for SuperSport United during the league campaign that ended in May. We'll get back underway on the 6th of August in South Africa. So a little bit of a lull here. An opportunity for Botswana to think about the final 10 minutes or so, because the second half stoppage time, we probably have 10 minutes or so remaining. And South Africa leading now by 2-0. Would mean that the record against Botswana would read 11-7-4-0, 16 goals scored. Only 5 goals that have been scored by Botswana against South Africa in the COSAFA Cup. Another South African player that goes down. I thought it was Ethan Brooks for a moment, but maybe a little bit of physicality coming in from the Zebras, who mount their frustrations. Is Ethan Brooks, who gets a hand up from Lebogang Ditsele. So free kick for Bafana. It does seem like a bit of the steam has gone out of the game. I can understand that to a degree. It's been a long tournament, much longer for the Zebras than for South Africa, who are only playing in their third match of the tournament, and Botswana their 6th. Msani's been impressive since he came on. Van Wyk, impressive from the beginning. Jaden Adams probably playing a little deeper than we saw in the previous match against Madagascar. Oh, a good turn on the edge of the penalty area. Chance for Van Wyk. Still another opportunity, and a good piece of defending from Kabue. Stops South Africa from going 3 up. Really good play from Sifama.
Big spark from Bafana. I guess the same goal. And also, you can understand that conceding a goal at this stage of the game for Botswana is draining to the legs. And obviously, a goal for Bafana just brings them up to a new level of excitement, and the game suddenly lives up. I mentioned the substitute mates. Those have helped to lift the standards of the game.
Only the third corner kick of the match for Bafana. Played towards the near post, headed away by Kabue. Consecutive corners for Bafana. Doing the right thing and playing their football inside the opposition. With 6 minutes and stoppage time remaining. Don't forget, South Africa conceded a late goal against Madagascar when they played on Friday. Rakour, remember, the right winger, pulled a goal back. They can't afford to put themselves under similar pressure here today. Sifama, Ethan Brooks, deflected goalwards by Tayo Tswala. Ethan Brooks again, looking for the return pass. The decision to clear from Dr. David, and to be precise, it was. South Africa attacking for all that they're worth. Cooper brings down Msani. Free kick to Bafana. They continue to play their football in the right areas here to South Africa. Cooper did pick up a yellow card in, I think, both of the matches that we've seen here in the plate competition for foul play, and he's a box-to-box player. He's an intelligent player as well. Occasionally just gets a little enthusiastic. So Msani on one hand with the free kick. 5 minutes in stoppage time, separating South Africa from the plate competition prize for the fourth time in 6 years. Msani with the pullback. The shot is wide of the target from Ethan Brooks.
It's actually deflected. It's been given as a corner. But has been the slightest of these deflections, and Ethan was glad that actually he took a deflection because it looked a very disappointing shot from him.
Fourth corner for Bafana. They're still playing their football in the right areas. It's a nice save from Poko. Not much coming back from the Zebras at the moment. Tatanyani, though, has shown in the previous match that he can come off the bench and score. Exactly what he did against Eswatini. After Morwalela had opened the scoring for the Zebras against the Eswatini side. A touch from Jaden Adams. Keegan Johannes will be happy with the way his team's performed today. Sani off the bench. Another an improved performance in the second half. Johannes being chased by Tswala. Looking for Van Wyk. Nicely cut out by Mangolo. Pitsele. Kapui, the captain. Kopelang. Don't forget Botswana are playing with 10 players after the sending off of Odirile Lekoba. And I tell you what, the coaching staff of Botswana have been at the fourth official, Easter Zimba from Malawi, because on both occasions that they feel aggrieved is when they had the injured player Reza Obaka Tatanyani, who was down injured when the Van Wyk goal was scored, and then they thought it was a bit rough having Lekoba sent off with a straight red card. So they feel a little bit aggrieved with both sets of situations that happened. Offside here against Tatanyani. It's nice to see Botswana though applying some pressure, looking to pull a goal back at least. Puerta is in the house here today, and there's no doubt that he'll get on his bicycle, metaphorically, and head off towards Moses Mabhida. Kopelang finds Tipedi. Cooper looking to turn and chase. Cooper's done nicely back to his captain. Now it's Mangolo. Van Wyk doing a spot of defending. We hear that 3 minutes have been added on to the second half, which means there's 5 minutes in total, separating South Africa from another plate crown in the COSAFA Cup. Oh, it's a whistling ball across the area from Dr. David, and Tatanyani nearly gets on the end of it. Maklangu will clear for Bafana. Now, Van Wyk. Is there anything left in the legs of Van Wyk?
Looking at the way that he slows down and decides to turn, tells the story that there's nothing. You ask, the question was, is there something left in the tank?
The answer is no. Ethan Brooks. Caught in two minds, took the wrong option out towards Sifama. Naditsele. Dr. David. Ditsele as well, closed down by Msani. Good positioning from Ditsele. Continues to be impressive for the Zebras is Lebacham, 26-year-old from Gaborone United, holding midfielder. Goes through a lot of work in a football match. Cooper, challenge from behind. Free kick then for Botswana, but time is running out for the Zebras. It's only 35 seconds remaining before we get to second half stoppage time. 3 minutes to be added on. Nobody venturing down the right-hand side. Tibedi and David both stopped their runs. And, the ball was too strong for Kaya Tswala as well. So into second half stoppage time then. Not quite. But 3 minutes have been added on is the signal from the fourth official. Easter Zimba from Malawi. 10 seconds away from second half stoppage time, then another 3 minutes. Foul on Sifama, free kick to South Africa, and no doubt that South Africa will be happy just to keep playing football inside the half of the Zebras. Plate runners up in 2018 to South Africa. Runners up in the cup as well. On two occasions, once to South Africa, once to Zambia. South Africa in 2016 and Zambia in 2019. At the plate final in 2018, South Africa won by 3 goals to 0, but it's 2 goals to 0 now. Itsele, I thought was lining up a shot, but Cooper might have ideas here. Wrong foot.
So he got use of his left earlier on in the first half, and I thought, wow. And that for me was perfect set for left-footed control, or even just the first time whip back into play.
Bafana won the cup competition in Geberge last season with a win over Senegal on penalties in the final. This season they've got a much younger, inexperienced squad under Helman Mkalele. Been dumped into the plate after that penalty loss against Mozambique in the quarterfinals. They're doing well enough here against Botswana to justify the choice of the youngsters, and different philosophy from the South African Football Association in this year's tournament. Oh, there's a bit of space for Taya Tswala. Why he chose to try and lay it off, I'm not sure. Now there is a shot. Was it a deflection because the keeper went the wrong way?
Indeed.
And just like against Madagascar, South Africa have conceded late. I think it's the captain Kabui who grabs the goal. Second goal of the tournament.
From an unlikely source, the defender. But listen, that was a sizzling shot for me. Yes, I'm sure it took a deflection, which is the only reason why Mzimela went the wrong way. Great strike nonetheless.
There's a player down for South Africa in the front of your picture as well. It's the central defender, Dinkosi Mnaba. There's Olweto Mzimela, who won't keep a clean sheet today. The referee, Mr. Abdul Mohammed, wants the injured South African player to leave the field of play to receive medical attention. And Ted is asking the question. Botswana, now that they pulled the goal back, want to get on with things. Eventually, it will be Mnaba who will move off the field of play. Are his legs done? More appeals coming from Coach Bokamoti Mpote to the fourth official. A bit of an argument between the two camps as far as the bench is concerned. Playback underway. Keegan Johannes. Well, 3 minutes of time were added on. We've had the 3 minutes, but we've had a bit of a long delay here. But the referee is not taking that into consideration as he blows for the final whistle, and there'll be more protests coming from Mr. Mokamoti Mpote, who was unhappy with the first goal that came from Antonio van Veek because South Africa played on. He was unhappy with the sending off of Lekoba with a straight red card. He's unhappy with the amount of stoppage time that might have been more than what it was. But it's goals that count in the game of football. South Africa have scored 2 of them through Van Veek and Rasebocha. Kabui pulls back a late goal, the captain of Botswana, for the Zebras. And South Africa, for the first time then, win the plate competition. William, your thoughts?
Well, I wish they were winning the real cup. that is the final of the competition. But listen, for these youngsters, for me, they came here unknowns, and I'm sure a few people that have been watching are now knowing exactly who these players are. And if you look at the future going forward, there's definitely a good potential for the under-23s to compete in that whatever.
South Africa when they played competition at Sugar Ray Kulu Stadium in Clermont. They beat Botswana by 2-1, and they will lift the trophy, no doubt, with Keegan Johannes in just 1 moment's time. Full-time score then, South Africa winning over Botswana by 2-1.
Well, I'm pitch side with our player of the match, Tebogo Kopelang from Botswana. And please, Baba, please give him his accolade. And that is what he gets. Thank you so much, Baba. That is what he gets from COSAFA. Abutaka, let's just talk about today's game. It's been such a long journey for Botswana from the group stages until the final played. Let's just talk about your experience in the tournament.
Yeah, nele tournament kancha. Betagere kirle betamgile la shapo.
How did you see today's game?
No leading ale la mara likule osanma putting to our plan.
And we know, of course, you are preparing for Chen as well next week as the team. How do you think your team is going to perform, looking at the progress that you've made in this tournament?
Our performance in COSAFA.